Greetings, everyone. Well, it's the last day of September, so you know I had to get these free readings in. So I will be doing, I think, like 4 or 5 free readings. So here is the first one. So the first one is for Deidre. Deidre wrote me saying, "My name is Deidre. My birthday is August 10th, 1990. I was born in Wichita, Kansas at 6:40." Now, Deidre, you didn't specify whether that was 6:40 a.m. or p.m. I should have asked you, but it was a little bit late in the game. But I really don't need your birth time to answer your question. So Deidre writes, "I met a guy July 15th, 2018. He's an Aries. His birthday is March 22nd, 1984. He's from Houston, Texas. I've watched several videos that says that Leos and Aries are compatible. The chemistry is there. We're dating. However, I'd like to see if this relationship will go anywhere. He says he loves me, but his actions don't really prove it. Please help me figure out if I'm wasting my time. I love your channel, by the way. I've watched your dark-sided videos all several times. Not to mention me and a close friend, Libra, fell out because I told her that she needed a man. Of course, she denied it. So, thank you for watching my videos, Deidre. So, about your man. Now, this brings me to your chart because the underlying problem with this situation is the fact that this Aries is saying that he loves you so early in the game. And that should always be a red flag. That should be a red flag for anybody, but especially in your case because your South Node's in Leo. And with that South Node in Leo, it means that in this lifetime, you're not supposed to place too much emphasis upon being in love, falling in love, having this relationship that is basically based upon romance and all this passion and stuff, because that's where you can easily get hurt. So I see this potential happening with this Aries, especially because he's born on March 22nd, and especially because of what I see in his chart. So I pulled some cards to represent this situation. So the first card is the Eight of Swords. That's you feeling like your hands are tied in this relationship. It's also feeling like where you're feeling like you may be left in the dark with respect to what's really going on with this guy a lot of times, and where you could feel basically powerless, and where you may feel like you can't even really communicate with him regarding certain things about like how this relationship is going. Also, where your expectations, especially. So you may have a hard time communicating your expectations with this guy. Your challenge is the Hanged Man. So that points to there being a lot of downtime between the two of you. So even though you're dating, there might be days that go by before you hear from him. So he might be off doing his own thing, being in his own world, and you're left wondering what the hell is going on with him. So that hangman is a big problem, especially because it's so early in the relationship. It's letting you know that basically the relationship is not all that it seems, or he's not all that he seems. Your advice card is the Two of Cups. Now, while that's a relationship card, that's a card of love, emotional bonding, togetherness. In your case, it points to where basically he has attached himself to you very quickly, and where you're already so attached to him where you're not seeing clearly. Now, the outcome is the Wheel of Fortune, and that echoes your birth number of 10, because that Wheel of Fortune can deal with ups and downs, and where a situation is not easily pinned down, and where you're dealing with a lot of instability. Also, that Wheel of Fortune points to being influenced by external factors. So that's really true in his case in particular, because when I look at his chart, he's the type of man that is easily influenced by other women. So he could be in a relationship, but some other woman could come bouncing along, and next thing you know, she's swaying him in her direction, and he's easily following along. Also, with his South Node being in Sagittarius, and it being conjoined to his Uranus, that makes him very much wanting to be a free spirit, where he really doesn't want to be pinned down. he really has a hard time settling down and making firm commitments. And then when you add into the fact that his moon is in Sagittarius, that makes him want to be a free agent with respect to women. And that makes him basically have a big appetite for women. His sun is in square to Neptune, so that can make him very unrealistic. So that can make him say that he loves you, but he really doesn't mean it. Or he may think he loves you, but then he quickly falls out of love. Also, that Sagittarius energy he's working with, especially his Sagittarius South Node, that makes him fall in love very quickly. But usually it's an illusion. Usually, it's not really love, it's just infatuation. So basically, he's infatuated with you, but he's not really trying to make anything concrete with you. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't see this relationship going anywhere beyond a series of ups and downs back and forth, and where he's not really ever making a firm commitment with you, and where you never really feel fully secure. So hopefully that answers your question. And then, like I said, with your South Node being in Leo, anytime a guy is falling in love with you very quickly, very early in the game, because you say you met him back in August, and it's only September, and he's already telling you he loves you, that's a red flag. So you need to bring this situation to a close as soon as possible so that you're not wasting any more time. So if you have any questions, you can send me an email, or you could just post a comment in the comment section. All right, moving along. Now this next reading is for Keisha. Keisha wrote me saying, "Hi, my name is Keisha. I got a short reading from you a couple of years ago. I really love your readings and appreciate all the knowledge you share. I would like a free reading like the ones you share on YouTube. I was born November 13th, 1981 at 2:51 a.m. in Cleveland, Ohio. I have 3 children, all by different men. My youngest just turned 2, and I really want to make things work with her dad, Derek, April 15th, 1983, 7 p.m. Cleveland, Ohio. But my intuition tells me that he won't fully commit and wants to play the field. My soul yearns for real love, someone who loves me for me. So my question is, will my Aries commit to me? Will I ever find real love or get married?" So that brings me to your chart, Keisha. So when I looked at your chart, I see you got the 2nd degree of Leo on your 11th house cusp, and that deals with what you said about your soul yearns for real love. But when you have Leo on the 11th house cusp, real love may seem far out of reach. And this is especially true in your case because you have your sun opposed to Chiron, and it's partile, meaning they're both at the 20th degree. So that is one of your most challenging aspects. That right there can deal with you attracting men that will not make themselves fully available to you, or they will not make a firm, solid, monogamous commitment with you, especially because Chiron is in your 8th house. So this theme will exist with mostly all of your relationships with men, just about. You attract men that can be unfaithful and basically serial cheaters. So I'm seeing Derek as being no exception. So you mentioned that your intuition tells you that he won't fully commit, and I'm seeing the same thing. So I pulled some cards to answer your question. So your first question was, will my Aries commit to me? And I got the Empress card. Now that Empress card is kind of like, yeah, sort of, kind of, he will commit to you in a way. You can look at that as he commits to you in terms of you being the top choice, or you being the top pick in terms of women for him. So if he had to choose one woman to settle down with at this point in his life, you would be it. However, that doesn't mean that he is going to settle down with you at this point in his life, because that Empress card can also just point to him just being very sensual, and men that are very sensual, they have a hard time just being in a firm monogamous commitment because they're easily swayed by a good looking woman. And I believe let me see, Oh yeah, and Derek got some strong sensual energy. That's why that Empress card came up. He got Mars in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus, Chiron in Taurus, and his moon in Taurus. So we're dealing with a very sensual man that has a hard time keeping his eyes to himself, number one, but even smelling women. Like if a woman is in his workplace and she got on some good smelling perfume and she's looking all good and she got on a nice dress and all that stuff, he's going to be so tempted to cheat if she's making herself available to him. So he has it pretty bad. And the fact that his sun is in Aries and it's in trine to his Neptune and his Sagittarius South Node means that a lot of times he gets to do what he wants. He gets his way. And that could be he gets his way with women. So he is able to have his cake and eat it too. So that Empress card is representing the fact that you are like his top choice. You might even be the woman of his dreams. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be the only woman in his life. And I don't see that being the case, especially at this point in his life. Now, if you are willing to put up with his nonsense, with all the cheating and stuff, I do see at the end of the day him settling down and making a life with you. But by then, he could be basically on his way out in terms of his sex drive, and he could be dealing with impotence at that time, because I am seeing that being a problem later in life, perhaps with him. And a lot of guys that are hypersexual, they will burn out eventually sexually like that, and they'll suffer from impotence. But I don't see him making a firm, full commitment with you. Basically, I see him, being supportive, having your back. I even see him having a lot of love for you, especially because you're the mother of his daughter. But I don't see him making that firm commitment. Then you ask, will I ever find real love? And the card that I pulled for that is the Six of Swords. And that right there is basically a no. Basically what that is showing that love for you is fleeting. It's not stable. It's not secure. And it might not even be real love. And again, that goes back to your sun being opposed to Chiron. Because that could deal with a love that's not even real, that's artificial, or a love that requires too much compromise, or a love where you have to basically lower your standards type of love. So in that respect, that Six of Swords is basically saying, in terms of real love, no, not so much. And it fits Leo on your 11th house cuts. Because remember, like I said, with Leo on the 11th house cuts, real love may seem far out of reach. Also, your North Node is in Cancer, and that points to you being a mother. So in this lifetime, you are destined to be a mother. And it's in the 10th house, which points to you being having responsibilities as a mother. But it can also point to where most of the responsibilities of being a parent falls on your shoulders. Also, your North Node in Cancer is in square to your Pluto in Libra. So your Pluto and Libra is also squaring your Capricorn South Node. So that Capricorn South Node points to past lives of you being very self-sufficient, you being a loner, you being solitary. So that's why in this lifetime, you're still a single mom, even though you have 3 kids. So that Pluto squaring your nodes, especially when you take the Cancer North Node into account, that basically is like you being a serial single mother. So, let's say that things don't work out with you and Derek, and there's a good chance that it won't. The next guy you get with, there's a good chance he's going to get you pregnant. So you'll end up with 4 children and 4 baby daddies, but he won't commit to you. It won't end in marriage. So, you need to determine at this point in your life whether you're done having children, because another child will more than likely just keep you as another baby mama, or it'll just bring another baby daddy into your life, but it won't result in marriage. So that brings me to your final question. You said, will you get married? And I pulled the star card, and that's a no in my opinion, because the star is representing what I see in your chart as well. And the star is a card of hope, but as you know, hopes aren't always fulfilled. And that star card can deal with where you're in a relationship that's more so about companionship. It can even point to an open relationship. It can even point to where you're in a friends with benefits situation, but not a full on marriage. That star card is more conducive to unconventional unions rather than marriage. So again, with your Pluto square in your node, you got to be careful, especially because your Pluto's in Libra, because you could end up having another baby daddy, but no marriage to show for it. So again, like I said, you need to determine at this point whether you're done having children, so that would mean you just have the 3 children, and then you have Derek in your life. But again, you can't expect Derek to marry you because I don't see that happen. And even if he were to marry you, you can expect to get cheated on left and right. So you got to ask yourself, what do you really value? Do you value marriage just above all else, even if it means you're going to get cheated all over? And like, and you know, you just value being with a man even if he's not fully true to you, and if love is not forthcoming, or if you basically value having emotional connections that may not necessarily produce a marriage. So if you have any questions, you can send me an email or you can post a comment in the comment section. But I hope I was able to provide some insight and clarity regarding your situation. All right, next one. Now, this next reading is for Avery. Avery wrote me saying, "Hi, Rabina, my name is Avery. I am a biological female. My question is, why is it so hard for me to be sexually intimate with men or trust them? I am still a virgin and also have problems with intimacy and my femininity. My birthday is April 6, 1996. Can you give insight to the type of males I attract? It will be greatly appreciated." So, the fact that you're an Aries alone points to a strong identification with masculine energy. And you have a stellium in Aries, which includes your South Node in Aries. So that Aries South Node is pointing to a past life of being a male, or where you just embody some strong Aries male energy, you could say. So you have Mars in Aries, and it's conjoined to your Sun. You have your Sun in Aries, and it's conjoined to your Aries South Node, and both your South Node and your Sun are at the 17th degree. So that is strong identification with maleness, masculinity. And then your Mercury is in Aries as well. So you have this strong identification with maleness. And to add insult to injury, your Mars is opposed to your Chiron and Libra, which points to the sexual issues, why you feel that you can't get intimate with men. But you're still really young, so you shouldn't be too hard on yourself about still being a virgin. And this is for your own protection, because you attract some of the worst types of men. You even attract men that are on the down low. So you got to be very discriminating when it comes to the type of men that you attract. And also that Mars opposition Chiron can just deal with where you have some sexual dysfunction going on, where you might be more comfortable with yourself sexually than when you're in the presence of others. When you're in the presence of others sexually, you might shut down, or you might just become frozen or frigid or what have you, because you're not used to dealing with other people in this lifetime. So in past lives, you had a strong identification with the self, even to the point of where you could have been asexual, or you could have been into that whole autoeroticism, where you get yourself off, where nobody can get you off but yourself. So the fact that you got the stellium in the 11th house, this Aries stellium in the 11th house, and Aries is intercepted in the 11th house, that points to you having this dysfunctional masculine energy. So even though you have a strong identification with being a male from your past lives, it's dysfunctional. So that goes hand in hand with what I'm saying about in a past life, you might have been into this autoeroticism, or you could have been asexual. I'm also seeing the possibility where in a past life, you could have took a vow of celibacy. So, you weren't messing around with nobody because of your religious beliefs. And that can point to your Uranus being in the ninth house in Aquarius. And also you have your Jupiter. Ninth house represents religion and spirituality. And then you have your Jupiter, which represents religion and spirituality in your eighth house. Eighth house is a sexual house, but it's in Capricorn. Capricorn deals with what's lacking, or it deals with restricting yourself, limiting yourself, cutting yourself off from something, barring yourself from something, um, negating something. So that could be the negation of your sexual urges, your sexual needs, or where you're trying to get it under full control. And that Jupiter in Capricorn is squaring your Aries South Node, your Aries Sun, and your Aries Mars. So that right there points to the sexual hangups you have. But again, I believe it's coming from, well, I know it's coming from your past life profile, where you were just very much self-contained. You were very much a solitary, singular person where you really didn't deal with people. You weren't a people person at all. And because of your strong identification with maleness, this is why you can't connect with males sexually, because it wouldn't feel right to you. It feels foreign to you. So that Jupiter squaring the Aries energy can also deal with, when it comes to sexuality, having sex with a male, again, feels foreign to you because Jupiter deals with that which is foreign. Your Mars is squared to Uranus, which makes matters worse, so that makes it hard for you to connect with a man sexually. And it can produce an erratic sex drive, or a sex drive that is even non-existent. Your Venus is in Gemini, and it's in the 12th house, and that alone can deal with issues with expressing your femininity, especially because Venus is in Gemini, which is a male sign. It's also an androgynous sign. And then what makes matters worse is your Venus is opposed to Pluto. And that right there can deal with where, in terms of your femininity, you feel a void there, where it feels non-existent, or where it can even point to the suppression of your femininity. And because Pluto's in the 6th house, that deals with where you don't feel whole as a female. Now with your North Node in Libra, in this lifetime, you do need to become acquainted with the opposite sex, especially sexually, because your North Node is in the 5th house. But you would be better suited for that if you were in an actual relationship. So you need to be in a relationship with a guy first. And it may help him to be a Libra, even though you got all that Aries energy. It might actually take a Libra male to help you to set you straight with this whole situation, because a Libra man, he will actually take the time, to get to know you and talk to you and stuff, the right type of Libra male, not the dog type, but the right type of Libra male. He'll treat you like a lady. He will help to bring out your feminine energy. So that might be what you need when you ask the type of male to help you to become more in touch with your femininity. So in this lifetime, you do need to become more of that softer, refined type of woman. But it's hard for you because you're in Aries, number one, and you got your South Node in Aries, and your Mars is in Aries. But you're born on the 6th, so that reinforces that Libra North Node. But I'm not even going to lie, you have it really bad with the whole sexual hang-ups. And again, this is going back to your past life. You also have Capricorn on the 8th. Saturn is ruling Capricorn, and it's at the 29th degree of Pisces. And that could deal with where you have this fear of men even, or a fear of intimacy, a fear of also losing control in the act of sex. So, yeah, you do have it really bad. So that explains why you have these issues with sex. And that also explains why you are lacking a large degree of the identification of with femininity. Now, your Venus runs parallel to Alcyone, and Alcyone is one of the fixed stars that is an indicator of homosexuality. And your Venus is in trine to Uranus, and Uranus is in Aquarius. That is a homosexual aspect right there. You could look at that as a lesbian aspect. So there might be some same-sex attraction within you that you might be suppressing because your Venus is in the 12th house. So you might not really be acknowledging that, and especially because Venus is opposed to Pluto, so you might be suppressing that side of yourself. But that can also mean that you're better suited for a relationship that is very much firmly entrenched in friendship first. And that will enable you to be able to trust someone, and hopefully that will promote you to be able to have that sexual bond with that person. But it can also mean that you end up getting with a partner that is basically bisexual, or it can deal with a polyamorous relationship as well. But basically, that explains your problem. So if you have any questions, you can send me an email, or you can post a comment in the comment section. So hopefully I was able to provide some insight and clarity with respect to your situation. One more thing that I forgot to mention, Avery, is that with that Capricorn on your 8th, that can make you a late bloomer in terms of sex. So the fact that you're still a virgin, I'm not surprised with Capricorn on your 8th house cusp. And then especially because you got Jupiter in Capricorn square in that Aries stellium you have. And then also when you take into account that Saturn is at the 29th degree of Pisces, which can produce an innate fear of becoming sexually active with people, and also an innate fear of intimacy. So I just wanted to talk about that. So basically, yes, you're a late bloomer in terms of sexuality. You might not even have sex until your Saturn return. So I wouldn't force the issue. I wouldn't rush things, because again, with the hookup you got going on in your chart, you can end up getting into a situation where you get more than what you bargained for sexually. Okay, this last reading is for Kenyatta. And before I get into Kenyatta's reading, I just need to stress that these readings are for people that submitted requests back in August. So if you submitted a request in September, I will be doing those readings next month in October. So I just wanted to make sure that, just in case if anybody feels that they were overlooked who submitted a request and this month. And I definitely can't get to all of the requests because I get quite a few. So if I didn't get to you this month, you could try again for next month. All right, Kenyatta. So Kenyatta, she's one of those people that tried again because she didn't get picked for my readings that I did in August. So she resubmitted her reading. So I was happy that she did that, because the interesting thing, Kenyatta, I was going to choose you for the month of August, but because I had so many to do and for lack of time, I couldn't get to yours. So that's why I made it a point to choose you for this month. So Kenyatta wrote me saying, "Wonderful and interesting readings as always. I wish I was picked this month, but I'm glad I could try again. You are more than welcome to share my name on the videos. I don't mind at all." So Kenyatta was born June 9th, 1991. Birth time 7:45 p.m. Location Bristol, PA. So she says, "My question to you is, what should I be doing as a career in this lifetime? I currently have a career as a physician's assistant, and I work in the field of psychiatry. I love what I do, but I feel there is something else for me out there, possibly in business. I'm beginning to learn that I'd rather be the employer and not the employee. I don't like being told what to do, LOL. And I cherish my free time. Again, I love your videos, and thank you for your time." Well, okay, so I'm glad you mentioned possibly in business, because with your North Node in Capricorn, that's exactly where you need to be focused. Having your own, becoming your own boss, creating a business, having employees where you don't have to submit to the will of an employer. So you are heading in the right direction. So yes, I would say that, continue being a physician assistant and continue working within the field of psychiatry since you love what you do, but have an escape plan, have an out. And that will be creating a business while you are working in the field of psychiatry, and also as you're working as a physician's assistant. So some possible businesses that I think that would be really good for you is a business where you are like a personal organizer. And what I mean by a personal organizer, not where you are doing the organizing, but where you create a company where you hire people to go out and organize people's affairs. You can also look at it as maybe you getting a business in the field of estate planning, meaning like you are helping people who have parents that are reaching the end of their life, or where they had a parent that is deceased and now they need help with the planning of their estate or the managing of their estate. Also, especially with respect to they need help with managing the affairs of their property. Maybe the person left a lot of stuff in their property and they need the things to be disposed of, or they need some things to be donated. They need the things to be sorted out, organized. So that is an option going into business in that field, where again it's like involving estate planning, or where you are basically an organizer of the affairs of people who have passed on and who basically have left behind a lot of their possessions, and basically you need to dispose of them, or put them in charity, or what have you. Another option is to create a program where you provide catering services for the elderly. So this could be where you provide meals for people who are in assisted living facilities. And the reason why I'm focused on the elderly so much is because of that strong Capricorn energy you have, but also because your North Node is conjoined to Neptune. And Neptune is at the 16th degree, and you're a Nepturanian, meaning you have Uranus and Neptune close together in Capricorn. And that can deal with you have a special mission in life to carry out. So your special mission could be providing aid to the elderly, or to provide some type of relief to those who are going through a tough time, and perhaps those who have lost loved ones and they need their affairs to be managed appropriately. Now your moon is in Taurus, and it's in trine to your North Node in Capricorn. It's in trine to your Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn. And that is where the catering piece comes in particular, but that also fits where you're managing their estate, you're helping to take care of their possessions, stuff like that. But the catering part might actually work out as well. Again, where you are supplying meals, and maybe the meals aren't being cooked, but maybe they're pre-prepared. Maybe you're getting it from a supplier, you're getting it from a wholesaler, these prepackaged meals, but where you're delivering them to people who live in assisted living facilities, or you might even be delivering to people who live in the 55 plus senior communities. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm just a bit tongue tied today. So what goes along with that is your Mercury's in Gemini, and it's in trine to your Saturn in Aquarius, and that can deal with you having a company that provides delivery services. So where you're delivering things, and that could involve the elderly because Saturn is involved. And because Saturn is in your second house, your North Node's in your second house, Neptune's in the second, that reinforces what I said about managing the affairs of others, including their possessions, but that can also deal with catering as well, providing food or meals to people who are maybe too old to cook, maybe they're too tired, maybe they're disabled or whatever like that. And a good thing about uh, having a business that caters to the elderly is you will be cashing in on all those baby boomers who are now elderly now, who are now seniors. So the baby boomer generation was the biggest generation of our time. So a lot of money is to be made with that segment of the population. So you definitely want to consider getting in on that. Also, your moon is opposed to Pluto, and that could deal with a business where you are helping to dispose of certain possessions that people have left behind upon their death. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. That could deal with, cleanup projects for homes of people who have crossed over. all that good stuff. So let me know what you think. You can either post a comment or you can send me an email. So hopefully I was able to help you with this situation and provide some possible options for business. But just to recap, you definitely need to focus on creating a business at this point, since you basically have plenty of experience in the career sector, in the employment sector. Now it's time for you to do your own thing and be a business person. So that concludes my free readings for the month of September. And if you would like a chance for a free reading for the month of October, actually, no, it's going to be for the month of November. Wait a minute, how's that going to work? Now I'm confused. So, anybody that's sending me readings for the month of October, in the month of October, you will be in the running for a reading in November. So just to put that out there, because I am doing these readings pretty late in the month, so that's why I'm kind of confused. But anyway, if you would like an in-depth reading, you can go to my website at rabina.com and click order a reading at the top of the page. Peace and many blessings.